Eventually, she insisted that Jacob sleep with Bilhah, her maidservant. And you think you have a dysfunctional family. The drama continues. Bilhah got pregnant and had a son. Rachel named him Dan. Then she said, "God has vindicated me. He has listened to my plea and given me a son." Genesis 30, verse 6. Did God give her a son, or did she manipulate the circumstances and give herself a son? If this scenario sounds familiar, you might be thinking of Abraham and Sarah's scheme to make God's promise come to fruition. Didn't Jacob learn anything from his grandfather Abraham's similar episode with Hagar and Ishmael? Bilhah conceived again and had Naphtali. Rachel said, "I have had a great struggle with my sister, and I have won." Verse 8. Sometimes the level of competition escalates to the point that the true objective is lost. Rachel wanted to win. She wanted to beat Leah. After all, Rachel was the favored one. I believe she was used to winning. The fact that she couldn't have children must have devastated her. If she had to use her maidservant to do it, then so be it, whatever it took to win. Leah stopped having children, so she gave her maidservant Zilpah to Jacob as a wife. Zilpah had Gad, and Leah said, "What good fortune!" Verse 11. Zilpah had a second son and named him Asher. Leah said, "How happy I am! The women will call me happy." Verse 12. At this point, Leah had 6 boys, 4 of her own, and 2 through her servant. Rachel had 2 sons through her maidservant, and the competition continued to escalate. Remember Reuben? He was Leah's firstborn. He was bringing Leah some mandrakes. Mandrakes were an ancient remedy to help barren women conceive. I found that of interest because Leah had stopped conceiving, yet the competition of the sisters continued. Leah uses her maidservant to bear children, and not only that, she's eating mandrakes to boost her own fertility. Rachel wants Leah's mandrakes. Here's where I get the idea that Rachel got pretty much whatever she wanted most of the time. She wanted mandrakes, and she was going to have them. I get the feeling here that Rachel was a master of manipulation. She made an offer she knew her sister couldn't refuse. She told Leah she could sleep with Jacob that night if she would hand over the mandrakes, which Leah happily did. And what do you know? Leah conceived a 5th son and named him Issachar. She said, "God has rewarded me for giving my maidservant to my husband." Verse 18. Then Leah conceived again. She named the boy Zebulun and said, "God has presented me with a precious gift. This time my husband will treat me with honor because I have borne him 6 sons." Verse 20. At this point, did she get any respect from Jacob? He barely noticed. He was still in love with Rachel. Sometime later, Leah gave birth to a daughter, Dinah. Leah could be feeling positively smug. She's given Jacob 9 children, 6 sons and a daughter from herself, and 2 sons from her maidservant. Rachel still has not borne 1 child. However, Leah still had not won Jacob's love. Rachel's maidservant had 2 sons, but Rachel had not delivered a single child of her own. Beautiful Rachel was living with the ancient curse of being barren. But Jacob was still in love with Rachel, and that was the painful reality that Leah lived with daily. And I have to admit that even though I see Rachel as a somewhat spoiled and selfish woman, I feel sorry for her because she didn't get what she so desperately wanted, a child with Jacob. And I feel sorry for Leah because she kept having children and was still hoping to win Jacob's love. Hope burns eternal. She had all these children from Jacob, and still Jacob had only a heart for the beautiful Rachel. Maybe if she just had 1 more child, maybe Jacob would love her. Then Leah's worst nightmare happened.